Perfect. All right, Coach, take us away.
I thought we did a lot of things and a lot of good things, in this game. And, I love this. I love playing it, saving the game to play before conference play, because I think that it's important. I think just having a bunch of practices, I don't know how, sometimes you can get better that way. Guys cheating plays, guys doing different things, and you know how it goes. So this is a good game for us to come out here and play. I know that A&M they were short a couple players, but at the same time too, I just thought we did a good job early, setting the tone with our inside guys. Mo and Bai, thought they did a good job in the first half. We were sharing the ball. Second half, I didn't like it as much. We turned the ball over way too much, But I'm not going to make as big a deal out of that as the most important thing is we just got to continue to keep getting better. Yes, 20 turnovers is not what we need, but I can just see our team growing in a lot of different ways, and I think we're trending in the right direction, so I'm excited about that. I'll single out one guy. I'll single out Chaz Kelly, and it's not because he went 5 for 5 and 2 for 2 for the 3. That's the reward, but for the last 3 weeks, I just think he's been really good and solid, and he's understood the assignment of what we need out there on the floor, and I thought he did a good job, again this evening. So he got some payback for a lot of things tonight, but really happy for him to do the things he was doing out there.
Speaking about Chaz, when you recruited him to come down here, did you envision his role that he's playing now to be what it is?
That's what I thought it was going to be. He's done a good job. I thought early on he was trying to do too much. To know me, and I told him, and I get it, but I told him, you don't got to impress me. I seen a whole lot of basketball. I need you to understand the assignment, and that's to make sure the ball's moving. That's to make sure that everybody's eating and things are looking good and in position. And then, as you lost in the game now, you'll make shots and do the different things that you need to do. And I think early on, he fought that, but I think that, along the way, me and him had a conversation, and I think that, he's embraced, everything that's come his way, and that's why you've seen his minutes go up. He's done a good job.
How does a game like this prepare you all for ACC play coming up?
Well, I think what a game like this does for us is it gives me another opportunity to, settle in on what I think is a rotation. It gives me another opportunity in this particular game by Ndongo to play minutes, and be able to get up and down, and so that's big for us. That's big. We need, for instance, Bai to, get back in a little bit of shape and things of that nature. And, tonight we were able to run some guys a little bit longer, give them longer minutes. And, we had some illnesses ourselves. We had a couple starters that really hadn't practiced all this week. And I would say I probably played Lamar more minutes than I wanted to, and I actually played Kawasi more minutes than I actually wanted to. But, I thought we got a lot of mileage out of, the guys that we had. I thought Jaden did well. I thought obviously Chaz, and, I was able to get Davi some minutes, So, it was this is always good because it's always better. And let me first say this. We're not a good enough team at this point to be looking past nobody. So it's just always a good game to play when you can get out there and you can have a game instead of continuous practice, because after a while, you know, you want to see it against some other people.
We'll go in front right here.
Hey, Coach, fans like games like this when they can see you and Charlie and they've watched you in the league. Now they get an opportunity to watch you guys coach against each other. Talk a little bit about that. Take us back to the league and today, again, the fans really enjoy seeing you guys coach.
Yeah, well, I played against Charlie, you know, I played against him about 5 times a year, counting preseason. My first 3 years, you know, playing the Knicks, you know, being in Toronto right there, we played them a couple times in preseason. You know, played them 4 times a year in the regular season, you know. So, you know, competing against Charlie, and, you know, he exudes a lot of toughness. You know, his team tonight exuded toughness. I think he's one of the best people I've ever met and come into contact with, you know. And you know, it's still, honestly, it still rubs me the wrong. It still kind of rubs me the wrong way that he never got an opportunity. I don't know the dynamics behind that. He never got an opportunity to play football. You know, because based on how they do stuff in 2025, you might be looking at #1 pick and then a first-round pick in basketball. Because what Charlie Ward was doing at Florida State back then, and I just told him, I told you, sometimes you got to wait to tell people things, because when you're competing, you can't do that. But I told Charlie Ward actually was the only player, basketball or football, when I was in college, that I had to make a window to watch when he played, because them Florida State teams he played on was good, you know. And he did a lot for the sport, and I think he did a lot, you know, for a lot of us in a lot of different ways. So, you know, again, Charlie's a high character person, you know, a man of God. Known him a long time. He lives in Houston. I had a house in Houston at one point, you know, and he's done so many things. Like, how many, you know, you think about it, and it's random thought, but how many people have been, you know, usually it's in youth sports, but how many people have been the head coach of a high school football team, and then he's the head coach at a Division I school, you know? So, you know, again, I have a lot of admiration for him and what he's done and the way he competed. And, you know, he was one of the ultra competitors that I played against, you know, while in my time in the league.
How important is it going into the ACC when teams are scouting you and they look down and they see 6 guys in double figures, a 7th guy with 9 points, and I guess they can't concentrate on one guy. They have to plan for the entire team?
Well, offensively, we've been getting better, and I think that, you know, you can see that, and we have to just continue to move in that direction, you know. And I think that we have a team that, when I envision this team, when we put it together, that would have a lot of people in double figures. You know, we might not have a 20-point guy right now, but we got a bunch of guys that you know, every game it could be somebody different, and I think that's what you're seeing down the line. You know, so I've been happy with our offense over the course of the last 3-4 games. You know, again, aside from the 20 turnovers that we had tonight, you know, on that end of the floor, I think we've been playing well.
In the back here.
You talked about your relationship with Charlie Ward. But I've always noticed that you've had an HBCU on your schedule. This time and last year you played Texas Southern with Johnny Jones. Is that something that you purposely do, or it just happens to work out that way?
No, I try to, you know, I understand, you know, the challenges that they have. So, you know, I try to keep one of them on my schedule at all times. You know what I mean? So it's nothing new, you know, so you try to you know, get guys, you know, start there, you know, and then if they don't need it, you know, you go somewhere else. But I try to, you know, I appreciate HBCUs. I think that, you know, in another time, I remember back when I was younger, I used to I used to actually want to go to HBCU, to be honest with you. But, I just think that there's a lot of history at a lot of those schools. And, it's always good, and it's Atlanta. So you bring one. The first year we played Howard. We played Howard. They brought everybody, and fam had a good turnout. So I think that it turns into a nice little gathering for current students in some respects, and definitely alumni that are in the city. So I to the best of my ability, I'll probably always schedule at least one a year. Yeah.
You've talked quite a bit about rebounding, and you're going to get the rebounds from your two big guys, but Jaden and Lamar are really getting on the boards lately. And you look down and you see they only had 9 second chance points. So I imagine that's an area where you look to see where the improvement is.
We gonna need a little more than that. Going into ACC play. Probably another thing that was a little disappointing is, fam, they played small, and so where I come from is like you put 5 small guys on the floor. It's just the toughest small guys win, right? And so there were some instances out there that I didn't like, where I thought they out-toughed us, for some rebounds, for some loose balls, and. This is the type of thing that can't happen as we move forward.